but to answer the question not asked, but I'll respond to it anyway. Why am I teaching this way? Much better, and I think it is much better, the way Joel, Lexi, and Nachum teach, in which they give you the stuff beforehand. You know, they give you material to look at. Do that, then go, and that's a really proper way of learning. As it happens, the stuff we're doing, we already looked at those sugyas beforehand during the first days of the event. That's not really my reason, though. My reason is this, is that we're plowing through the Beis Yosef, and you'll need to be able to do that as well. Because you'll need to be able to do that as well. Yes, you will start plowing because somebody's going to ask you something, and all those guides that you can find from the OU and elsewhere are not helping you. I hope they're not helping you because you want to know, so you'll turn to Shulchan Aruch, but then, you know, the Shach will say what, so you'll have to go, and you have to be able to plow through the Beis Yosef. And maybe I need a better term, but glide is not my word. So it's either plow or chug. Now, having said that,
bushwhack.
Sorry.
Bushwhack.
Sorry.
Bushwhack.
Bushwhack. Bushwhack, and it's a real bushwhack. Okay, go with that. Thank you. Is that a German word? Never mind. And as we do it this time, you know, did the past 2 weeks, we do it this time. I think, or I felt that something happens a little bit more in the Beis Yosef, in which he wants to have halachic conclusions, and there's a number of concepts that he wants to explain. Halachic conclusions obviously want that. How do the halachic conclusions come? It's not a book of Shilas and Shuvas, and it's not a exact manual for the modern kitchen. It's really, it comes, and what he's reaching for are klalim. And so there are klalim. Old klalim, recently rediscovered klalim by him or somebody else, and klalim that now emerge that we didn't have before. For klalim, I could also say certain definitional concepps. Does this come at the same time as psak? Yeah, of course. But I mean, I think it's ophi, its nature, as it presents itself, are klalim. Now, why is that important? Well, it's important to us because if you start mastering the klalim, then all good things are possible. So I'm going to emphasize with you today, or I desire to emphasize with you today. I had this small, my small Yoreh Deah. Very hard to read the words. Why am I using that? It makes me look at every word. So, as opposed to my gliding through the other one. and I have a whole bunch of it. Now, not only did I underline, but now I underline some klalim in red. So I'm going to try to. What do you want more? You want from a teacher? Full transparency. Okay, this is it. And I didn't look at any self-help books, which, whatever. So what I want to go with you to is the Beis Yosef, Where, of course, we're in Kuf Hay. If you have the Shirat Devora edition, it's Tov Samach Daled. Tov Samach Daled. And on the right-hand side towards the bottom, which is, I think, towards the end of Hey Aleph, Hey being divided into two parts. And the words are, there's a Kotav Igor, I'm skipping that, and right under that, the Kotav Harashba. And if you have the Shirat Devora, you're going to be able to find it because I just told you where it is. If you don't have it, not sure what to do. But let me just ask. Ruben, do you have it?
No, I'm on Al HaTorah, so I'm looking for it right now.
You're looking at Al Torah. How do you find things in Al Torah? How do you find it?
Well, I go by Siman or Seif, or I do a Control F and search for the phrase. That also works.
Well, the phrase you don't want is the Kotav Harashba, because it's a lot of that. Right?
Yes, that's true.
Look at in the Beis Yosef, Kol Davar Sheyesh Lo.
Okay, Kol Davar Sheyesh Lo.
And then what's the next word? Maybe it's really Kekal Davar. There's another chap there. Kekal Davar Sheyesh Lo. Okay, next time I'll try to use the big book. Right now I got to use this.
Is it Kol Davar Sheyesh Lo Fa'afua? Fa'afua?
How about Papua?
Papua, okay.
Okay, this you like your Native American name. Papua. Okay, fine. Now. Okay, what about Josie? Do you have it?
No, I'm still looking for it. It's
Ruben, can you tell
Papua.
Josie where it is?
I'm looking also in the big Shirat Devora. I just couldn't find the page you mentioned.
Josie, if you have, do you have the one that's both the Torah and Shulchan Aruch?
Yes.
It's Reish Sadi Aleph in mine, and if it's the same,
The Aleph. There you go. Okay.
yeah. And if you have like the 2-column Beit Yosef there on that page, which is what I have, and it's the second Vechatav Rashba.
Okay.
Shammai? Yes or no?
Yes, got it.
Okay. Jacob? Okay, fine. Okay, Ruvain. Start. Because of Arashba, the Torah Bayit.
Because of Harashba, B'Torah Tabayit Ha'aruch. V'have Yodea, ki kol davar sheyesh lo, how did you pronounce this again?
Papua.
Papua, thank you. That's kol davar sheyesh lo Papua, shenafal makom yadua min hachaticha, she'af al pi sheyesh b'chaticha lavatel ha'isor, tzarich litol mikomo.
Stop there. Stop there. Is this a cloud?
It feels like a cloud.
Have Yodea. Know this. So generally that introduces it. I mean cloud or cloud-like. This is very good, right? You have to be Levash Elisa, right? Keep on reading. Ukamo.
וכמו שאמרו בפרק כיצד צולין, נטף מרוטבו על החרס וחזר אליו, ייטול את מקומו.
Okay. That's the origin. Of a Kitzar Kotav.
ובקיצור כתב כלשון
So he summarized, he's bringing the Rashba's own summary. That's because he wants to imprint the klal on our brains. That's why he repeats it. Read.
ובקיצור כתב כלשון הזה, כל איסור מפעפע חם שנפל על גבי היתר חם, אף על פי שיש בהיתר 60 לבטלו, צריך ליטול ממקום שנפל שם האיסור, קליפה, אבה.
No, it's a ted. It should be a text. Oh, Ava. Yeah, Ava.
אבה
Thick,
ביותר?
a thick. I apologize. A thick klipa.
והוא הנקרא,
The notar. Okay. Who nikra?
והוא הנקרא, is this בכמה מקומות? נטילת מקום?
The call makom.
בכל מקומות.
Oh, maybe, or maybe it's common makom. It doesn't matter, right? Okay.
והוא
Called what?
נטילת מקום עד כאן לשון.
All right. Period. What are we witnessing here? What does he do for us, the Rashba brought by the Beis Yosef? And I'm very pedantic, I'm sorry, but I'm not sorry. What's he doing for us? This is the birth of Venus. Even more beautiful, coming out of that clam or whatever. The birth of Venus is the birth of Netilas Makom. The term Netilas Makom. What happens when you have a specific term being created? What happens when you have a term being created? That means an inchoate idea is now found, especially in rabbinics. An inchoate idea has found a definition, a term, and therefore has found a full reality. What did we have before we had Netilat Makom? In fact, you can find it here. What do you have, Eitan? I can't hear you.
Klipa avas. It's like a big klipa.
Yeah, you had a big klipa, a small klipa. Now we have a notion of the Netilat Makom, right? A little bit better. And this is, we can go home now because we saw the invention or discovery or birth of that. And once you have that, the concept then is used and used and used more. Lexi, what did I miss?
Well, just the Rashba is not like inventing it so much as he's seemingly creatively expanding its application, right? But we do in like the Ketzad Solin, we have like the Yitolat Mikomo, which he's using as his kind of like basis. He's just, I think, one of the first people we see really using that source to argue that this is like a distinct thing that applies in these particular cases.
So you could have said that comment by saying, Rabbi Landes, we all agree with you. Because that's basically what it is. Yeah, of course, this is what we're talking about. Ideas, you all read that paradigm book, the ideas start percolating up. Then all of a sudden the idea is already there. We all know about this idea. Oh, it has a name. It was always called this. It was always called this. So that, that's it. So it's because, and he also said Bakama Makomot, meaning, or Bakoma, but it's already, it's rising to the surface. And one of the things that we have in the next few sections, or the full sections, to call it Kufay elsewhere too, but Kufay is that there's almost like a little battle here. And one of the main things is a lot of oppositions. One of the oppositions is, well, is Kedei Klip or is it Kedei Natila or Natila Samakom? Kedei Natila and Natila Samakom being the same thing. That's what's going on. Okay, good. Thank you, Lexi. That's helpful. Now, Benira Lee.
ונראה לי דהו הדין בצונן לתוך חם דצריך נטילת מקום, אם הוא מפעפע, אף על פי שיש בהיתר 60 כנגד איסור, דדין צונן לתוך חם כדין חם.
How does where's the cloud? 1, 2, 3, 5 words.
Yeah.
What's the 5 words?
צונן לתוך חם. Wait,
no,
hold on.
What's the
No,
5
no.
words? That's the cloud. What would you remember for the test? Not my test.
Is it din sonen letocham kedin cham?
Yeah, it doesn't sound like a cloud. Say it like a cloud. Say it one more time like a cloud.
Din
Not like
sonen
a
letocham.
question.
Okay. Din sonen letocham kedin cham. Declarative
All right.
sentence.
And that
period.
helps us. That helps us. Who would know this? We wouldn't know this. Right? Din sonen letocham kedin cham. We would not necessarily know this. Okay, it still has to be argued out. There'll be backtrack. We'll say, oh, why did I say this? But meanwhile, he's giving us the cloud. Kidita, now he's going to, I think now he's more or less going to explain. Kidita, now read quicker. Kidita.
Kedita perek ketzad solin ve'efshar de lerabuta nakat harashba cham letoch cham de'af al gav de chaim tova lo amrinan shehu nimuach legamre umitpashet bekol haheter ולא נישאר שום רושם במקום שנפל יותר מבמקום שאר החתיכה, אלא לעולם מקום שנפל בו צריך נטילת מקום.
Okay, well, first of all, so we got everything that's going on. First big word that you have is revusa. What's a revusa? Revuta, I guess, I don't know. What's a revusa? Max, what's a revusa? You don't know. Jacob, what's a revusa?
Kiddush.
Yeah. I would say that you're right, Shammai, thank you. And I think the term I would use, even though you're right, is a inclusionary term. But inclusionary really means it's a chiddush. So to say chiddush, that's inclusionary chiddush. I don't know. That's, in other words, it gives you more. So here the unfolding is taking place. Right? The Efshed Revusa Nakat Rashba. The Beis Yosef's commenting on the Rashba. Beis Yosef is telling us what the Rashba is doing. He's allowing us to show the seams of the halachic discussion, which, by the way, you don't get in the Shulchan Aruch, generally. Generally just don't get it because it's already taken care of. It's already been done. Cham Tocham, right? That the Afagav the Chaim Tefei. Go ahead, now explain what he wrote. Right. What he said. The Afagav.
Do you want me to?
No,
yes.
Read it, translate.
Starting from Afagav the Chaim Tova, lo minan shehu nimuach legamre. Well, I'm not sure what he means by Chaim Tova.
I think it means hot. I also didn't know.
Okay.
I figure it just means even though it got really hot.
Right, they're hotter, that like in that case you have two hot entities mixing as opposed to a hot and a cold. So he's like, even though there's more heat there that would seemingly distribute flavor.
So
even
Lo Amrinan, we're gone. Thank you. Lo Amrinan.
Yes, thank you, Rav Lexi. So even though it's two hot things, we don't say that it's nimuach, that it's completely nimuach, and that the flavor spreads throughout the entire head piece. Regardless of the
Whoa! What's a Roshem?
A mark or impression.
Impression. Yeah. That's a new halachic term now. I know but this is what's happening. We never worried before. When you guys were learning before, you weren't worried about Roshem. What's a Roshem? It's an impression, America, right? Roshem. The makom shenafal yoter mikol shar chaticha. Don't think that way. Ella, go ahead. I want to hear Ella from you, Ravane. Can't believe
Ella le'olam makom shenafal bo tzarich netilas makom.
Oh, okay. Because there's an impression there. There was a place where it hit. Something happened there. So even though the basis of a beetle or shishim is, we have thought it as being a complete, when there's a beetle, a complete beetle that's equally managed throughout the whole object. But now they're telling us, yes, but, yes, but, you gotta do something about the Roshan.
Rav Landes, I
No,
don't
wait.
understand. Oh,
So
sorry.
Natilas Malcolm is working here as an explanation for Roshan, for the damage done, or the extra damage done, or I shouldn't say extra, the pervasive damage. Let's think P word. The persistent damage that is done, and therefore we would still need a Natilas Malcolm even if you have a beetle. Now, my question in your own brains will be, is this going to be the sole definition of Natilas Malcolm? And how's that going to work out? And how are we going to differentiate the Natilas Malcolm from what's that other concept? From Ruben?
Klipa?
How they-
Kedei klipa.
Yeah, Kedei Klipa, right. Okay. Kol Shekain.
וכל שכן בצונן לתוך חם, תאיקה למימר צפה, דוודאי נשאר רושם במקום שנפל יותר מבשאר החתיכה, מאחר שצונן היה האיסור.
Conan Habahisa. Right.
האיסור.
Right. Go on.
אוקיי. וזוהי סברת כמה רבותא שכתב המרדכי,
Right.
yeah.
Vav LP.
Start. Okay. Ve'af al pi. What
So
does
what does
this?
it stand for? Joel, what does it stand for?
It's Rabbeinu Baruch, I think.
Rabbeinu Baruch. No, he would know the lesson. Rabbeinu Baruch. Achar kach. Go ahead.
Rabbeinu Baruch achar kach chazar bo.
He was chazar on a lot of things. We don't have to go through that, but the next line is important.
Enach rabuta lo chazru bahem.
But Enoch. Ruvain translate.
These inclusions lo chazru bahem.
Right. This particular. Maybe it's Chiddush.
It's Rav Ravata here, though. It's not Ravuta. It's those rabbis. Those
Yeah,
other.
here's the rabbis.
Okay.
No, Enoch Ravut. Well, I was going to read it. Enoch Ravuso lo chazro, but it's chazro. Okay,
I think it's
you're right. You're right.
It's
I'm
closed there.
But anyways, in other words, this has been held to. Roshem had a potential of being discarded. Other chidushe inclusions were discarded, but this is not discarded. Ba'afal
ואף על פי שכבר כתבתי שאין דעת הרמב"ם כן, אלא שמאחר שיש בו כדי לבטל האיסור, אינו צריך נטילת מקום.
So what does the Rambam hold?
There's enough in the mixture to nullify the Isser. You don't need
Once
to do.
you have beetle.
Right.
He has no Roshem of Roshem, the Rambam. Roshem makes no impression on him. Okay. Below, you don't need a Natilas Malcolm. Below.
Velo klipa.
Maybe just a little klipa. Take off a little klipa. No, not the klipa. Now we're also defining the terms with each other. Therefore.
But yesh lahachmir kedivrei harashba.
No, but.
So even though,
and who's talking here? Beis Yosef is talking.
Beis Yosef.
Right? Rambam. Can't disregard the Rambam, but okay, we're not going to go like the Rambam, right? Should go like Divrei Rashba. He doesn't say why, but it could be he's just really convinced by the Rashba. Okay, very good. Thank you. Isaac, would you read Kosav Od HaRashba?
כתב עוד הרשב"א, כבר ביארנו שאיסור מפתח אפילו בצלי אוסר הכל, היה אחד חם ואחד צונן, ונפל האחד על חברו, התחתון גובר לעולם, כמו שבארנו למעלה, ולפיכך נפל חם לתוך צונן, אינו אוסר אלא כדי קליפה. ואם נפל צונן לתוך חם, הכל אסור. כאן לשון. Okay, so Rashba.
Yeah, go ahead.
So Rashba wrote, just like we've already explained, if you have an Easter that's prone to spreading out, even in a case of roasting, it makes everything aser. When you have one that's hot and one that's cold, and one falls on top of the other, we determine the status of the mixture based on the one that's on the bottom. So we've already explained this above, but we'll tell it again. So you have a hot thing that falls on top of a cold thing. A hot Easter that falls on top of a cold heter. That only makes the heter aser kedei klipa. But if it's the other way around, cold Easter on top of a hot heter, then the entire thing is aser.
You have on top of hot, the entire thing.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think in the Rashba's formulation, it doesn't matter which is the Easter, which is the heter, right?
Excuse me?
I think in the Rashba's formulation, it doesn't matter which is the Easter, which is the heter. He cares about.
Oh yeah, because that's what he's going to get all tied in. That's what the Beit Yosef is going to get tied in knots in over the Re versus the Rashba, like in I think 10 or 11.
That sounds right.
So you're right. And but what's the issue now? We're going to get to that. I'm tempted to talk about it, but what's the issue right now, Isaac?
So we've looked at the question of whether or not like an additional drop or the drop that falls on a piece of something is going to cause issues even if it's gone, like we can't see it. But now we have an additional factor that we're adding in to sort of figure out what happens. And that's the question of the halachic physics of things falling on top of each other. And so we have this notion that whatever's on the bottom has a greater impact on the relative temperature of these two foods versus the thing that's on top. So whatever's on the bottom is going to change the temperature of whatever's on the top.
So if that's the case, if Ham fell upon Sonain, what would we expect?
If Ham falls on Sonain, we would expect that in this formulation of the Rashba, where it doesn't matter which is which, that we go with the status of the Tzonain. If the Tzonain is Aser, or sorry, we said Ham falls on top of Tzonain. Right. Then we go with the Tzonain, and they won't impact each other because it's
except.
Yeah.
Except, is there any except here?
Ela kedei klipa. Sorry. Yes.
Kedei klipa.
Yeah.
So here kedei klipa is what? It's on. We see the notion of that was now at least the kedei klipa is also an impactful thing, but it's the most minor impactful. So even though it's considered, the whole thing is considered Sonain, the point of impact is considered problematic. It's not the Tilas Makom, but it's Kedei Klipa, so it makes sense that they put it here. Is that clear? It's clear, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
It's 2 layers of impact, like you said.
Okay, so that's right. So even though, I'm just saying again, right? Even though the bottom is Sonain, even though the bottom of Sonain is Usr, it doesn't make the Cham Usr, except for Kedei Klipa, because there's impact there. Therefore, we have to always be worried about the notion of impact. Too much impact, Kedei Netilas Makom. A little less, still there is Kedei Klipa. V'akol Usr, Read a little more.
The
And
hakol
that's in
asur,
quotation marks, hakol asur.
the hakol asur, quote unquote, shekatav. Hang on, sorry, brain. Shekatav hayano kol she'ein bo shishim keneged ha'isur, she'im yesh bo shishim mitbatel hu kamo she'nitba'er bidvarav beperush, nimtza de'isur mefafea bitzli dino shaveh le'isur bishul, sheze veze befachut mishishim asur, umosif tzli al habishur
Oh,
she'ar.
no, why don't we stop for a moment?
Okay.
But there, we just got another cloud. What's the cloud now?
That an isur that spreads out through things during roasting is considered to have the same deen as something that's cooked.
This is a surprise. I mean, we didn't have that necessarily. Cooking is like you wouldn't necessarily say that. Cooking is when the full taste gets mixed with the other full taste of the forbidden object gets
You're foreshadowing the
imbued
rotev.
in the victim. It's imbued there, and that whole thing happens here. And what do they say? Sorry, same thing. As long as what the matter itself that's being processed is Isra Mefafea.
Yeah.
Right. Okay. But Umosif, and he's going to come back to this. When he comes back to it further on, we'll understand it. Umosif.
ומוסיף צלי על הבישול שאף על פי שיש 60 בהתר מקום שנפל בו האיסור צריך נטילת מקום והצלי לדעת הרשב"א והכי נחתינן. Okay, and we sort of include sli with bishul because even if you have 60 in the heter, in a case of sli, the place where it falls on where the Easter falls still needs an itilat makom, with just so like that. In that case, Bishul and Sli are similar to each other, according to the Rashba, and that's also the opinion of the Beit Yosef.
As Mosif Sli Halabishul. Sli is even more than Bishul. So even though there's 60 heter, comma, Shiesh Shishim the heter, Makom Shenafal Ba Ha'isur Tzorech. And you don't have that by Bishul. In Bishul, if you have Shishim, everything is mutter. Hakol mutar, right? But here by Sli is all about impact, evidently, I would say right now. Sli, the point of impact, no such thing as point of impact in Bishul. At least according to the Rashba. What would the Rambam say? You're out of your mind, the Rambam would say. What are you talking about? We have Shishim, it's finished. No concept of Rosha. No concept of that. That's why I'm also calling it a new invention, as it were. And that's where that is. So the Rambam, however, we'll see this is kind of a good introduction here. The Rambam will remain as a, how can I say, the rational pole against the religious sensitivity of the Rashba. Rashba's worried that there's something that's not kosher there or whatever. And the Rambam says, wait, it's either kosher or not kosher, period. Don't give me this other stuff. Okay, so that's our introduction to both that will much, but not all that will go on now. So, okay.
Rav, I think there were a couple of questions, one from Max and Ori.
So let's go. Max.
Sorry, it took a second. I just want to make sure I'm understanding the Rashba that we looked at the very beginning of Shir, when he said Kol davar sheyesh lo papua, etc., tzarich litol mekomo. What the Beis Yosef is now saying is that only applies when you already have 60. But if you don't have 60, in that case, it would be kol asur.
Correct.
Is that right? Okay.
Correct. But the only way to say it more Jewishly, even though it's fully mutter,
Right.
still usher there.
Or say it like the Rambam, right?
Right. Okay. Okay. Fine. Thank you for that. Who else?
I think I have the same question. Like, is that what he's saying in the phrase "V'im nafal sonen letocham hakol asur"? Which case is this? In Sli?
Uh,
The very end of this Rashba.
yeah, I hear you. Nafal cham, letocham. I'm
Nafal
not sure. I
sonen
think it's just
letocham.
cham. Lexi, what do you think? I think it's just cham.
Yeah, I think it applies whether in Bishul or in Sli, but the main, and again, he ends up qualifying. He's like, that's obviously referring to a case where there isn't Shishim. Like, there's Shishim, then there's Bitul. But if there isn't Shishim, then the whole Hakol Asor, if the bottom thing.
I do think for Sli it has to be something that is Papua, right, in that case, right?
Yes, I mean, that's in general for Sli, any kind of contact, they end up saying if it's not, if there isn't the fatty jumping around, it's just the Klipa.
Let's go deeper now. Thank you. Let's go deeper now. Okay. Fine. Okay. Josie, would you read Valkol Damrinan? Valhad Damrinan, excuse me.
The Al Hadam Rinan and Cholin. Kulia Shenitzla Behalba. Hava Vesharya Mishum the Mafsik Krama. So that a kidney that's roasted with its surrounding fats is permitted because the membrane, the mesenteric membrane that surrounds it it separates the two. And
right.
so
Well, what term would we use? We not there. What was that's yeah. The Nira.
Katav Rashba Denira Shigam Kede Klipa Oser Bechuya Shehachelev Muvla Bekrum Kedamin Lanael. So the Rosh is going to say, even so, to be a little bit machmir here, it seems, you would still need to take off a klipa because the membrane itself absorbs some of the fat during the roasting.
I would say it's not necessarily a chumrah. I think, it just says that's the mitzias. That's the way it is. You got to take it off. In other words, I wouldn't put it as a chumrah here, but thank you for your explanation so far. And then he refers to another Gemara, Tlasa Krami, that's not important. Umihu. Go ahead. Umihu Beklipa.
Case Beklipa Saged, the Devar Muatu, Ve'enu Mitpashet Kolkach. In any case, klipa is sufficient because it's a very small thing, and it doesn't spread out a whole lot.
As opposed to
Netilat Makom, or
right, you doesn't have to even say it because it's just hanging there. Because we're always talking about is it klipa or is it Netilat Makom? Good. Akach
Divrei Rabbeinu, the Rabbeinu Yerucham.
No, Rabbeinu. Period. Put a period.
Rabbeinu Yerucham Katav.
Yeah.
She now.
She is Mefarshim.
She Mefarshim. Okay. She Tzal'a v'chelev ma'alya devadai osura.
No. I don't have ma'alya. I have a shin. I have sha'alaha.
Oh, I'm sorry. She Mefarshim Shem Tzal'a v'chelev she'aleha devadai osura kuya she'ein koach b'krom lahafsik. So there are those that say that the membrane isn't strong enough to actually be this chatzitza. Aval mayri shenisla beloven shebetocha she'ein bo koach lefa'afea. But we find that the other type of fat, the white fat that is inside, it's not strong enough to spread out throughout the entire kidney. Ele b'klipa. V'chein im tzal'a b'krom she'aleha lo im ha'chelev she'aleha einu mefa'afeh kol kach. And so it doesn't, this while it's roasting, this fat doesn't spread out across the membrane so much. Ve'eno oser ela kedei klipa. And so you only have to peel off.
Okay, so sum it up. You said it well. This These 3 lines, sum it up in one short sentence.
That it's not. It's
No,
not
I'll make it better. I'll start the sentence. The krum does what?
The krum is a separator. It's a chatzitza,
but
not a very good one, or not.
but it's like it's the just occurred to me. It's
Semi-permeable.
it's like the Pora Duma. So the Pora Duma. It keeps things from being tummy, but itself becomes tummy. In other words, it absorbs. It's a shock. If you have a good shock absorbers in your own car, after a while, shocks go because they've absorbed a lot of shocks for you.
Oh,
That's
it's a
exactly
buffer.
what's here.
It's
Okay, good. What do you got, Josie?
It's an
What?
absorbent, in other words. Like you'd have to
Okay, fine. That's great.
take that off.
An absorbent. Okay, good. Apple
ואין אוסר לכדי קליפה כמו בקרום שלה לא מחלב אינו מחלב כל כך. ואינו אוסר אלא כדי קליפה כמו כל שאר קרומות.
Good. You got it. You don't have to say anything. Go on.
אף על פי שהגהות מימוני כתבו בפרק such and such, דאפשר דלא קיים עלן כשינוע דחוליה בחלבה, הווה וכולי. Al divrei Rabbeinu v'harosh yesh lסמוך. So even this other this other opinion that it's not it's not teaching it doesn't make a difference the kidney and the fats. We should still rely on the Rosh.
Okay, wait. What does that do for our halachic observance?
The other opinions?
No, with the fact that
The Rosh.
do it this way. If we follow the other opinion,
I didn't completely understand it. They're a little bit chumrah.
the other opinion that we say that
That the kulia, that
Yeah, we
the sorry,
say
the chrome
those
would be a
that-
good separator.
yeah, wow,
Oh, so they would be a little more makel.
yeah, it'd
Yeah.
be a big problem. And we go by Rabbeinu, the Torah, and the Rush,
By the Rosh.
or B'Samech. In other words, but it's a decision.
So is
You
this-
said it's not a chumrah, but like the pshat of the Gemara, we didn't see klipa. We were there. It was a good chatzitza.
The reason why I'm saying is, why would even Hagos even say that? I think Hagos would say that is in the context of the Gemara's discussion, it's an answer to the problem, but it's not necessarily a great halachic point. Therefore, if you want to be somech on the Torah and on the road. I'm sorry, who's okay. Okay, yesh l'smoch. Okay, now, all right, good. Okay, Ari, for that matter, you continue reading. Masha Omer.
Umasha Omer velomi by
Okay, you have to go back up and read that in the tour.
in the tour. Velomi by chaticha achat sheyesh ba chelev shemefa'apeh bekula.
Ella.
Ella afilu chatichat ha'isur kachush וחתיכת ההתר שניצלת עם השמנה, האיסור מפפע בכולו. So it doesn't matter if the piece of fat, it doesn't really matter what kind of piece it is, even if it's a thinner piece versus a fatter piece. Once it's spreading, it's spreading.
Right. Okay, start reading.
All right, down on the Beit Yosef. נראה שטעמו משום שנמחה קצת השומן ונבלע בחתיכת האיסור. It looks like the reasoning is that the even a little bit of fat, it gets absorbed and can spread in the piece of Isser. Bazar Shuman Hahu Chatichat Nevela Kishahu Nivla. Is this a case where it's going through the fat is going through one isser and transferring to another piece?
Keep on reading.
Keep on reading. האיסור חזר השומן הוא חתיכת נבלה או כשהוא נבלע. אחר כך בחתיכת ההתר. Right.
Ooh, okay.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so that but we're going to get a better reading in a moment. Well, if he's, I think, so therefore I'm going to tell you.
ולפי זה לדידן דנקטינן כרבנו אפרים.
By the way, important cloud. Ledidan, we go like Rabbeinu Ephraim. We don't go like Rabbeinu Tam. We go like, I mean, it's not mentioned here. You have to go back to this. That what? The ain.
Hanan, yeah. The ain חתיכה עצמה נעשית נבלה.
אלא
בבשר וחלב, כמו שכתבתי בסימן.
Yeah, right. Rabbeinu Tam says it's B'kol Yisur. But to understand the Beis Yosef, understand the Shulchan Aruch, Rabbeinu Ephraim is the main guy. Rabbeinu Tam still exists, but Rabbeinu Tam says B'kol Yisur. Big difference. Okay, go on.
אף על פי שחתיכת ההתר שמן עם חתיכת האיסור כחוש, שרי. Right, so even though the heter piece is fat, the isser piece is lean. אבל אני מסופק אם הדין כן, but I'm not sure if this is really the law. שהרי אפשר שטעמו של רבנו הוא מדאמר רב בפרק הצצולין, דאפשר אפילו בשר שחוטה שמן ובשר נבלה כחוש, that even with a piece of a slaughtered piece that's fat, basar nevela, and then we have the nevela piece that's very lean, the azil basar shachuta u mifatam levasar nevela hakachush. Okay, so in that case, it seemed like it would still go.
Keep on going.
V'hadar le basar nevela, and then go back to the nevela. Mifatam le bereche levasar shachuta.
What's the difference between this and the explanation we saw a little bit earlier? Sounds kind of similar.
Meaning it's this sort of going back and forth, which you would think you need to have Hanan for that.
That matter, it's the same. So what's the difference? Is there a difference? Joel, what's the difference?
I think the first version, you need the fatty heter fat to become asur kulo when it absorbs the lean fat from the isur and then come back in, right, and spread everywhere. In this case, you don't need that because it's like the fattiness of the heter makes the isur fat or something like that. It gives it a new mitzias. So you don't need to rely on Hanan anymore.
That's a pretty strong thing that it gives it a new mitzias. I like that terminology, but that's pretty strong. But so you have to keep on reading.
ואם ברכי אנו אומרים כך.
In other words, he's saying it's a reach. The pitum is not of the, as it were, of the object itself. That's the major difference. The object itself is, but that it imparts that smell, that reach. But then he makes a kavla. V'im b'reich.
אומרים כך, כל שכן שיש לומר כך בצלי. Right, we would think that would also apply to tzli. ועוד יכתוב בזה בסוף הסימן.
No, okay, fine. He's going to talk more about it later. Okay. So, but what have we learned from this? You go like Rabbeinu Ephraim is one thing, and what? So, what's the context here? What we just went through, about the reach and all that. What's that about? Why are we talking about that?
Because he's defending the tour, even not holding Hanan, that it still doesn't sort of matter which piece is fat and which is lean.
Okay.
That in Tzli, there could be this reach that, maybe it's like what Joel said, it's changing the fattiness, so we don't really care which piece has the fat and which one doesn't. It's not Hanan necessarily. It's not that concept that we need.
Lexi, you agree with him? It's not a trick question. I just need some validation.
I think so.
Yeah, okay, good. Well, come on. As we forge ahead, that's all I needed to hear that. Okay, well, come on, so that's good. That's very good. Well, come on, בסמוך.
וכמה בסמוך? כתוב רבנו דהה דחתיכת איסור אוסרת חברתה אומרים
No, בנגיעתה.
בנגיעתה דווקא שאיסורה מחמת עצמה או שבלעה איסור מפעפע אבל אם אין בה איסור אלא מה שבלעה ואותו איסור שבלעה אינו מפעפע אינו אוסרת אחרת הנוגעת בה אפילו אם ניצלו יחד. Okay, and this sort of comes up later in the tour, right?
Right.
That this is only talking about if one of the pieces has the Isser from itself. It's not been transferred there from another piece. So he's not, again, I think like not going all the way to like a Hanan kind of thing.
Okay, good. Okay, the next section, Umaloach. Let's go to the end of that section. It's right near the end of that. It's only 4 lines a second. So in the last line or so. Vaha midaka amar kavush arehu k'mevushal. In other words, we're now trying to set up, you'll see in a moment, when we say,
Oh, I think I got it.
wait, you guys get it? It's there. Just
How far are we talking?
it's right. Oh, I'm not sure. Wait a second. There's a little section, Maluach Shehu Maluach. And then the next one is Masha Amar. But right before the Masha Amar, it says, because he's referring to a quote that he makes, Amar Kavu Sharehu Kamavushal, which we saw in the Gemara, that I don't know, immersing is just like Mevushal, Michlal, the Roteach, the Tzlik Omar. In other words, the question is, so maybe I should say something more about that. Maybe that line before. Because earlier before, we're talking, and we say Meluach is Karoteach. Sorry, I should have said this better. So I'm in my apology. Now I will explain. We're talking about what we have Melicha, two processes now that we want to compare. There's a process of Tzli, which we've been talking about, and there's a process of Melicha that we haven't been talking about so much. And they say about Melicha that Melicha is like, Melicha is Kiroteach. And the question is, what kind of Roteach? Is it the Mevushal Roteach? Or is it Bishal Roteach? Or is it Sali Roteach? That's really important. You're salting stuff. It's creating heat. We say that it does a Roteach. It does a Roteach. It does, it does a Reticha, right? So it does a Reticha. But it makes a difference of which Reticha is it. And here they say, Gemara had said that Mevushal, that Kavush is like Mevushal. That's a cloud there in that Gemara, right? That Kavush is like Mevushal. Then Kavush and Mevushal are connected. That leaves out what? That leaves what? That leaves Sli. That leaves Melicha being like Sli. Instead of a whiteboard. Two main categories of heat, Sli, Bishul. Two lesser categories, Kavush and Melicha. Where do they fit in? So now we know.
Is this also the first place? I
Kavush
think
is like Bishul. It has that same definition. And Malicha is like sleep. And that's a major deal that the Beis Yosef now has to talk about. He's going to tell us and bring us into the Malicha and explain that to us.
Is that because Rotach sounds like sleep? Rotach, that kind of heat is how we identify
very
sleep.
good.
Well,
You're absolutely right. Thank you
isn't
for
this
that.
like the first time that we see differentiations of different types of rotach? Because before we always just had rotach. It was like rotach was self-explanatory, and now we're like, no, there are subcategories of rotach.
Or what is its definition? What reticha? Not down, but up. What reticha? Oh, I hear what you're saying. Yeah. So we're talking about right. Very good. Okay. So let's repeat what I said. Very simple, right? You have two other subcategories as Isaac bushwhacked me with. You have two subcategories, and the subcategories is kavush and malicha. Kavush relates to bishul. Malicha, that burning malicha, I'll put that word in, relates to sleep. And that's where we have that right now. All right, let's take a 5-minute break. And thank you. 5 minutes. Stuff here now. And okay. And so Eitan, you're up. And he's quoting, let's go into the Torah for a second. Before it says, Umaluach. Read from where it says in the Torah, Umaluach.
ומלוח שהוא מלוח עד שאינו נאכל מחמת מלאכו, וכבר פירשתי שיעור מליחתו בהלכות בשר וחלב, דינו כרותח ומפליט. Something that's salty.
כרותח ומפליט, ולא
לאסור הכל אלא כדי קליפה.
Okay, כדי קליפה. So, I understand. What's the case, Eitan?
I think something that's salted so much that you can't even eat it. That's its deen is like roteach.
No, I know, but what's the situation? What's the situation? Like what's happened?
I think you've salted something so much that it's not even edible anymore.
Okay, anybody else have another way of explaining this? Joel?
It's usually for dam. Sometimes also for the road you can do it to like preserve, but either salting for dam or for preservation to take on the road with you.
And what are we concerned about?
We're concerned that now if you either like you did it with the dam in a bowl that doesn't have holes in it, so the dam remains with it, and then it reabsorbs the dam and gets blood. It becomes bloody meat.
That's not our case here.
Yeah, or the two pieces that are salted like an Easter and heter touch each other.
So we have the impact.
Nice.
Right? We'll go with the impact. So say the impact case again.
Like you have either, well, we're going to talk about two salted pieces, one salty, one not, but two pieces touch each other, and at least one, if not both, are highly salted pieces.
And Kedei Klipa means
that you have to take, if they touched, you have to take the Kedei Klipa, just the one layer. That's how much impact there is from one to the next.
Because, right.
Because it's sleep.
The very fact that it's salted, and the very fact is that salted is karotech that's sleep, says that there is such a thing as impact. There is such a thing as impact. The impact is Kedei Klipa, not the greatest impact, but it's still an impact. Okay, so now let's take it from there. And therefore, Shazahu Das, Eitan.
Where are we taking this from?
Just okay. Well, so I call Kedei Klipa, Shazahu
I see it. Zehu dat harosh v'arashba v'aran.
Wow.
De'in lahachmir beroteach detzli. So this is the
Yoter.
sorry, I didn't hear what you said.
Yoter.
Hold on, I gotta Yoter mikdei klipa.
Okay, stop there.
Okay. So this is the opinion of the Rosh and the Rashba and the Ran, that when it comes to Roteach of Tzli, you aren't more machmir than taking just a klipa.
Okay, I was a better teacher. I would have asked something like, if these two things happen, what's going to happen to the heter material, right? What I want to say now is maybe we're a little surprised by this because it's only Kedei Klipa, but it's considered still usher. Lo Asar Hakal Ella Kedei Klipa. Okay, but nonetheless, the Isur and the Kedei Klipa is a real Isur, and now like we may have alluded earlier and say something like a Chumrah or whatever. It doesn't. No, this is actually usher. This is how I'm reading it now, and that's how the Rashba around read it. Keep on going. Shalom Kedas.
ושלא כדעת רמב"ן, וכדמשמע מדברי הרמב"ם שאוסרים הכל. וגם לא כדעת הרמב"ם.
Oh, wow. Wow. What happens with those two guys? Rambam and Ramban, both were doctors, and people confuse who they are. Maimonides and Nachmanides. In the Chevel's translation of the Ramban on the inner page, it says this book written by Nachmanides, and it goes, not to be confused with Maimonides. Can you believe it? Not to be confused with Maimonides. But here, both are on the same side. They're either or guys, right? So if there's going to be impact, the impact has to be, the impact has to be kulo or nothing, all or nothing. Big difference halachically. She'osrim hakol, the gam.
וגם לא כדעת הרעה דמצריך נטילת מקום. The ra'ah requires taking out more than a klipa.
But right, and that's where it's not as far as the Rambam and the Ramban, but it's still more than Kedei Klipa. So they're like thinking of and the way he's saying it now, see, against Natilas Makom is not Kedei Klipa, a super Kedei Klipa. It's its own deal. Okay, fine. Because of Haran.
כתב הר"ן גבי הnahu atmahata deimlichu bereish galuta begira hanashia. דברי מי שאומר דלצלי ולמליcha לא משארים בשישים. בכל עניין אסר להו רבינה.
Try to figure that out. Yeah. I'm sorry. Rav Shari. Okay, no, but we'll get to Rav in a second.
So this is the case where they salted a whole thigh with the giranasha in it, and they asked if this is kosher or not. And so for the person who says that it's that for tzli and malicha you don't count sort of 60 against it, in any case Ravina said this is asur.
Okay. How is it asur? Well, Misharim b'shishim.
Meaning
we're not even coming to. Yeah, go ahead. I'm sorry.
But it's asur because it's in there. You're not even measuring it. It's just there, and so it's asur.
Okay. All right. Okay, go on. The Rav
Acha share the sphere le de maliach harehu karoteach detzli uvaklipa o benetilat makom sage. So Rav Acha permits it because he holds that when we're talking about maliach, it's we're comparing it to tzli, and so just doing kedei klipa or netilat makom is enough.
Because that's where it's usher, just like that, and that's what it is. Big difference halachically. The chitema v'chihave karoteach detzli
Mai have. Nema demepapea keda amrinan.
Name it the papaya.
Nema demepapea.
Name it has to be pua. Why not? Name it the papaya. Can I read it?
Keda amrinan le'el de chelev mepapea. Afilu letzli. Yesh lomar. Zelo adif shuman degid hanashe michelev kachush damrinan le'el de'eno mepapea.
Right. Because it's it's not really the gid, it's the chaylev is the gid, but the shuman of the gid or the chaylev of the that, right? And that is chaylev kachush. That was the first first understanding. It's chaylev kachush. Okay, so Ramban teretz.
The Ramban teretz de melicha afilu chelev shamen eno bepapea. Ve'af al gav de amrinan de maliach harehu kerotech detzli hainu le'apuke merotech de mevushal aval lehamilta garia mitzli.
No. Stop for a second. Before the aval.
So the Ramban explains it this way, which is that when it comes to malicha, even for chelev, that's like a lot of chelev, the fat animal, it's not mipapea, even though we say that when it comes to salting, it's like roteach of
We had
tzli.
that before. In what sense? How do we say the difference between the two explanations? One is amount, it's kachush, or the other is it's there's not a lot of that. Or this interpretation is that it's the teva, its nature is not. It just doesn't have it in this sense to do it. Okay, so if that's the case, right? Why Afagad the Maliach Harei Hukaroteach Tzli? Yeah, Hainu Lafuke may roteach the Bavushal. I just want to make sure you don't say roteach Bavushal. I don't know, but that's what's being said right here. I can't defend it more than it is saying here. But then he says something very interesting. Because if you stop here, you have that Malicha is like Sli, right? But which one is stronger? Let me take a bystander. Jacob, which one is stronger? Malicha or Sli, would you say?
Sli.
Oi? That's not an answer.
Sli. Roasting. Sli.
Oh, Sli. I said oi. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's what I was thinking too. But now, he's just going to read to us of Alaha Milta.
Avalaha milta garia mitzli. Ve'af al gav de betzli mepapea hachelev v'melicha eino mepapea. So in this case, with malicha, it's sort of lesser than sli, because even though with sli, the chelev goes around the whole animal, when it comes to salting, it doesn't.
Right. Okay. So it's like, so Jacob was right, but now he gives a reason why it's the case. Yeah, but that's a big thing. Malicha eino mefafea. Malicha is not an engine of Papua. Not everyone's going to agree with this, but that's a very important cloud. There may be somebody else who say a counter cloud. But to say, does Malicha have Papua or not, Papua or not? The Harashba.
The Harashba cholek b'davar, the kevan de ravina svir le de maliach karoteach, de mevushal, de adif mitzli, heichi nema ledidan de garia mine.
Okay.
So the Rashba takes exception to this, has a disagreement on this matter, and says that since Ravina holds that Maliach is like Roteach of Mevushal, which is sort of even more powerful than Sli, then how could we say in our case that it's with salting that it's less than Sli?
Yeah, like what kind of argument is that? Or not what kind? I mean, what is that argument?
I think he's saying, well, we should actually look at what Ravina's saying, who says that Maliach is more like Mevushal, and because Mevushal is more powerful than Sli in terms of moving Chelev around, then we should also say that Maliach is more powerful, or holds that same kind of power in terms of moving the chelav around in the meat.
It's like it'd be too many notches down if you say it's garua. Elavadai,
Elavadai mashma dechol demipapea betzli mipapea b'malicha ukedivrei Rash Bazal.
wow. So that's business before right. This whole thing now this is the cloud that we end up with. That saying that Maliach is Kotech Tetzli, take that literally. It's the same categories. It has the same impact. So that's where he is now. Nearly, Beis Yosef continues.
Nearly de amida amrinan lekaman hahu kezeta de tarba de nafala dikula de bisara savar Rav Ashi l'shiure b'may de bala dikula mashmalich ora de basar hu shanim lach basal.
Shema Mina, keep on going.
Shmamina de chelev b'melicha mipapea.
He's giving a proof. The Elo, Lamalei,
Ilo lamalei lishura.
the shear is related to Papua. In other words, you get to see, how much you fill it up and can you get to 60 or not. Lamalei, but Klipa Sagile would seem to be enough to be a Klipa, but no, there's. So in other words, it's the same category. But here's where I want to go to. The Divrei Harashba Shakotav Haran.
Udivrei Rashba shekatav Haran mevuarim b'Torat habayit shehu mashve melicha letzli lechol davar.
Okay. Now we're getting it. Yeah. Bakatav.
V'katav kineged mi shecholek al zeh da'adaraba yoter yesh lomar
Yoter yesh lomar.
yoter yesh lomar demepapea b'melicha mi betzli mipnei hamohel hayotze min habasar al yedei melicha. V'hu ke'ein rotev loholicha ta'isur ulefpashto bachol.
We had Malicha down and out. It's like almost a nothing. Then Malicha is brought back as being equal to Tzli and take seriously, almost literally, what we saw earlier. And now, maybe Malicha is even stronger. Because what does Malicha have?
It pulls out some liquid from it, and so the liquid
Right,
spread.
mohel. It has like the sap or whatever, that the juice or whatever that comes out, which is equivalent of rotav. And that just as rotav brings in all the pieces all the way through. So therefore now we have that with Sli. That is, I got an exclamation mark there. Yeah. So that explains a lot. Okay. Mohel Yotze, Basar Ayde Malicha, Behu Ke'ain Rotev, Laholich Et Isur, Lafashto Bekol. Now he's going to talk about the Rambam. Because at this point now we have the Rashba, that they are the same, but actually they're the same, but a little bit better. As opposed to before, they were the same, but it was a little worse, the Malicha. Now the Malicha in some ways is even a little bit better. So now the Rambam is always on the consciousness, but the Rambam has his own problems. The Rambam Kotav.
The Rambam Katav Perek Zayin. Ein molchin chalavim im habasar, chalevim im habasar, v'lo madichin v'chule. V'chol advarim ha'elu asur la'asotam.
Because why wouldn't you be able to be molech chalev with basar? Chalev is asur, basar is kosher. We're talking about here. We're afraid of the influence, the impact, even though you're being, what's happening, right? And should it happen? That's in Perek Zion. And it's also to do this. Go on.
V'imnasu lo ne'esar basar. Nir'eh she'ein sarich lo bitul v'lo klipa, ela madiach v'ochel.
Yeah, but actually you shouldn't do it, but the result is mutter.
Right. And all you have to
And
do is
therefore you can just, whatever, madiach a little bit, and then you can eat it. Probably because it's not there for a long enough period. So why is it usher to do it? Because if it stays there for a long period, you're going to have a problem. Therefore, don't do it. Precautionary. If you did it, all right, it's not usher, and we don't beat you. But what does it tell us in the meantime? And those answers in the meantime, right? Lo nesar habasar nira shein tzarich la bitul v'lo klipa. Because again, the Rambam is consistent. It's all or nothing. It's all completely usher, or it's nothing usher. Not usher at all. Nothing usher. It's not usher at all. But that's one Rambam. Half LP.
ואף על פי שממה שכתב בפרק ט"ו נראה שהוא מחמיר הרבה בבשר נבלה מליח שנבלל עם בשר שחוטה, כבר כתבתי בסימן עין דאפשר דבפרק ז' מהיראה בחלבים שאינם אסורים אלא מדברי סופרים, כשמנו של גיד וכיוצא בו.
Well, that, go ahead, explain that.
Right. Even though it says it seems like in Perek Tet Vav that he's actually much more machmir when it comes to nevela meat that's salted, that's mixed up together with kosher meat, or meat that's had shchitza. I've already written, meaning the Beit Yosef, that it's possible in Perek Zayin that it's actually talking about kinds of fats that are only forbidden derabanan, like the fat of the gira nasha.
But okay, that's an important thing. Therefore, by implication, if it was chayil of dioraisa,
then it would be asur.
I mean, really asur.
Meaning asur if it's mixed together.
The meat would be impacted. I'm saying that was according to the Rambam, the meat would be kulo asur. Because he has no concept of kadei klipa. It's one way or the other way. My way, highway. And then he goes, keep on going. I'm reading.
I think that this right. V'sabot had amrinan behanahu atzmahata derav acha share bli shum tikun ubli shum shiur share afal gav demaiti had demaliach harehu karoteach l'divrei Ravina.
Maybe l'divrei Rabina Kamar.
L'divrei Rabina Kamar. Dehava bai lemesar ki'ilu haya isur Torah. אבל לדידי, כיוון דאינו אסור אלא מדרבנן, בהדחה סגי, והיינו דסתם תלמודה.
Okay, right. It's just like reviewing it again. So if you say it was, if you say it's Rabbanan, you do what? You that case in Perek, you do what? You save the Rambam from a contradiction. But you end up with a pretty hard situation that it's kulo aser, according to the Rambam, for something that is deraisa forbidden. And therefore, in terms of, let me use that word, try not to use it too much, the narrative of this discussion, this notion is the impact of the salt, according to the Rambam, is not negligible or not equal, but the impact of salt is, whoa. That's the way you answer the Rambam. Therefore, you're better off if you find a different way of answering the Rambam that will cause less collateral damage. Collateral damage making everything deraisa was anything approaching with salt and just impact kulo. The Beis Yosef is interested in psak that's also doable, and I think a lot of times he gets really scared by the Rambam, but he can't keep the Rambam out of his mind. Okay, because of Rav Acha, keep on going.
Katav Rav Acha Sharei
Sorry.
Mashma Bli Shum Tikkun.
Right. Inami just gives another answer. So we're just going to read through his other answers. Inami.
Iname beperek zayin ma'ire b'melicha kol dehu ke'ein melichat chalavim ubeperek tedvav ma'ire b'meliach she'eino ne'echal machmatz melacha.
Ah, okay. You got that, everybody? Right? Difference between one, whether it's just the salting or like this super salting. Inami.
Iname beperek zayin ma'ire she'melach chalavim bifnei atzman ela shemitoch habasar karov lahem chayshinan shema yig'uza bazeh ubeperek tedvav ma'ire she'nimlechu yachad.
So that, according to that answer, then any kind of malicha is really going to do this damage, right? Except just keep them separate. But if they're too close, we're worried about that. It has a big impact. Das Rabbeinu.
V'dat Rabbeinu kedat harashba v'haran. Sharei katav lekaman besamuch. V'kihechi demafliginan bitzli ben kachush leshamen. Huadinami bechom shemaliach she'im achaticha.
Found this on the web, so
Sorry.
I can't have the comments of
My Siri thought I was talking to it. Sorry about that.
Well, you picked her as a chavruta. I didn't. I warned you.
וכי היכי דמפליגינן בצלי בין כחוש לשמן, הוא הדינמי בחום של מליח, שאם החתיכה שמנה ונמלכה בחלבה, או איסור מלוח וההתר תפל, והוא שמן מפעפע בכולי ואוסר כולו עד כאן לשנה.
So this last part is what? Set up full parallel. Right? The parallel is with sli. Does it make a difference with sli if it's shomain or if it's kachush?
Yes.
That's right. And here we say same thing regarding. In other words, that we're worried about the salt in a situation of it being a shomain chalev, shomain animal which produces shomain chalev, because then it takes place. So you have this big bowl of meat with with chalev, and the chalev is just this incredible fatty thing, and you're salting it. We're worried about that.
ואף על פי שסתם וכתב שאוסר כולו, לאו לממרא דלעולם אוסר בכולו, אלא דווקא היכא דלקה שישים כנגד האיסור.
Okay, so what's he doing now? We're all giving all these kolim. That's within the situation of defining what sli is, and defining what malicha is, and defining their relationship and their parallel. But don't forget the big cloud, right? The big answer, shishim. If there's shishim, then forget about all these things that we were talking about. And if there's no shishim, then you can have your fights about how to do it. Aval im yesh.
אבל אם יש שישים כנגד האיסור משרה שרי, כי היכי דשרי בצלי.
Perfect. And there the parallel, and as you just read it, why the parallel continues. Right. Just as shishim is the ultimate answer at sli, so too is the ultimate answer in malicha. V'lo chashash.
לא חשש להעריך ולפרש לפי שסמך על מה שכתב בסמוך, שדין המליח שווה לדין הצלי.
And he repeats it because he's a good teacher. Remember that cloud. Din hamaliach shava ledin hatzli. Now we got this other stuff there about the sap, and then we got, so we have to see you'll have to see in the Shulchan Aruch how that's going to work out. And we have the stuff about the place. Nonetheless, it's basically the same din. He's holding like the Rashba, and that's how it goes. Now the Mordechai.
והמרדכי כתב בפרק גיטה נשה, כמה גדולים שכולם סוברים דחלב ובשר שנמלכו יחד משארים בשישים זולת רבייה.
No, get that. They're Kama Gedolim. And what do they hold?
They think that when you salt when you have a chelav and basar salted together, you can measure shishim.
Mishish, that's what you got to worry about. So in a certain sense, they're Rambam pervasive here. Okay? But the one who disagrees is Zulat.
Ravia.
Yeah, Shesover.
Shesover de bitul bashishim lo shayach gabe melicha. Te'ena iser over bechol ela nishar bimkomo. Lefichach tzarich klipa ubaklipa mihasagile.
Whoa.
So he thinks that the isur when it's all salted stays in its place, so it's just kedei klipa. But if you do klipa, that's enough.
In terms of my obsession with finding klolim, what's going on dramatically here? The holiest klal has been attacked. And the Rabbi says, okay, it's all mutar, except I can't have to tell you, there's still that kedei klipa. So even though we say, so this is the attack on the rest. And so now the Katav Rabbeinu Ephraim.
The Katav Rabbeinu Ephraim Omer Shnohagim Karavia v'chayotze bazeh hi svarat Haramban she'eveti shekatav Haran bishma. So and he wrote that Rabbeinu Ephraim says that we sort of practice like the Ravia, and also that's the explanation of the Ramban that I brought and that the Ron wrote in his name.
Go ahead. Next line.
Mihu mitoch divrei Ravia efshar ledakdek lo ayre ela b'she'ein hachelev davuch lebasar. Umishum de'ein chelev mepapea mechaticha lechaticha below rotev, aval chatichat basar shelo nikra mechelev v'nimlecha moded mitbatel bashishim shebachaticha atzma.
So, what's he doing?
He's sort of making a kimta basically on the Ravia, saying
Yeah,
he's only really right. He's saying that principle only counts when the chelav isn't attached to the piece of meat itself, because in that case the chelav isn't going to spread around from, I guess, into the chaticha it's attached to, then from there to another chaticha, because when it's in maliach there's no rotev.
No, I think it's you have the beetle of the shishim, right? Did we get that far? No, I'm sorry.
Right. When it's attached, he agrees that there is batel b'shishim.
The beetle b'shishim. He's trying to preserve the beetle b'shishim, and he says, so that would be the case. Nonetheless, the Raviyah had clearly gone against the notion of beetle b'shishim in a certain situation. In that certain situation in which we should say kedei klipa, kedei beetle, or kedei natila would be sufficient. Let's keep on going on this. So how goes?
V'hagahot haperek hahu katav b'shem shari dura b'melicha o betzli lo shayach ela klipa v'tzarich lahamik b'klipato yoter mima shehaya kolef im malach basar nevela kachush im basar kasher. שהחלב מפעפע ונבלע בו יותר. והכל לפי עומד הדעת כמה בלה יקלוף.
Okay, great.
Right, so here...
They're not happy. Not happy. Come a different way of understanding it. There's a need for Gedei Klipa, not because Shishim is not sufficient, because Chalev is a special, unique case. Chaylev goes really far deep into it. And therefore, even if there's a bitul b'shishim, you need to have the tilas klipa, or maybe really need the tilat makom to get it out. And there's no, and the principle of the bitul b'shishim is perfect and exactly right, except there's a case in which Mitzias is different, because he wants to preserve the cloud. Okay, good. Let's finish up.
V'had amrinan asur lechol afilu meresh odnei kegon hachelev asher hachelev haya merubeh v'haya mepapea v'notef merosh ozno v'chen piresh Rashi u'piresh Raviyah afilu chelev harbeh b'melicha have k'mo chelev me'at b'tzliya.
Yeah.
Right. Right. And so now it's going back to the case in the Gemara of when it says that it's forbidden to eat it even from sort of the tip of its ear. That's a case where there's a lot of chelev, where it would sort of spread out all the way out to its ear. This is sort of how Rashi sees it, interprets it, and the Raviyah says that
So he extends it to Malicha.
right, yeah. He says this is even the case in Melicha, meaning a lot of chelev in Melicha is like a little bit of chelev in Sliya.
All right. So we got it. That does that. Rav meets.
Rav mimitz omer de betzli v'yesh harbe chatichot v'rov chelev lo sage afilu b'shishim. Deshar chatichot einam mesayot rak b'mevushal sharotev molich hata'am bekulam.
Stop there.
It's the Rav Mimitz says that when it comes to tzli, if you have a lot of chatichot and most of them have chelev, shishim isn't even enough, because the rest of the chatichot don't count against the chelev that's on the chatichot that it's attached to.
Yeah, they're just floating there.
Right.
They don't help us. Now conclusion.
Okay. Umaskana demilta de Ravan. Dechelev ubasar shenimlechu yachad tzarich klipa afilu have yoter mishishim.
Stop there. Yeah, stop there for a second. Explain that.
Right. So this is the conclusion of this matter, according to the Ravan, which is that when you have chelev and basar, which are salted together, you need kedei klipa, even if there's more than 60.
More than right? Even more than 60. Not just 60. More than 60.
The principle.
It doesn't right, but you still need it because you're afraid of that point of impact. Vesagi.
Vesagi beklipa. Afilu leika shishim.
What does that mean?
Meaning that even if
is enough, right?
You don't even need to. It doesn't. There's no batel b'shishim principle at all. As long as you take kedei klipa, that's okay.
You're saying it very well. The principle of impact is separate than the principle of shishim. Mesharim b'shishim talks about the wholeness. Impact is something else. The dent in the fender, whatever else, it's different, and that goes on. So, and how does he say so beautifully? Even if it's more than 60 of heter, you still need kedei. Was it kedei klipa? He says here. Klipa. And even if it's less than 60, then it should be worthless. No, kedei klipa is that in terms of that nagia at that point. But conclusion of the conclusion. But I've
seen all the rabbis doing batel b'shishim.
My rabbis.
Or my rabbis, right?
The mevatel b'shishim. And what does he do with what's the implication there about the klipa?
That's not the main factor we're taking into consideration.
Okay, the Maimonides wins. According to at least in terms of how he adds it then. You have to see in the Shulchan Aruch. But Maimonides seemingly wins in this case. Okay.
What was that a quote of the Rav Yehuda though? That he
It's a quote from the Raviyah. Yeah, you're right. But I'm saying, well, I'm not sure. I'm not sure what the Beis Yosef says. I think the Beis Yosef's made a very good case of talking about the persistence of impact of Kedei Klipa, and that the Raviyah thinks theoretically, but halachically it seems that he comes down. Well, the Raviyah has argued against has argued against the supremacy of 60 and for the importance of Klipa as the other measure in the circumstance of the impact. Nonetheless, my teachers taught this other way. Is he passing it that way? Well, that's how he said it. I didn't say it that way. Lexi, how do you see it?
Yeah, I mean, this is kind of more broadly on the sort of tension that I think is playing out both here and above, which is that in our like Maliach and our Tzli scenarios, right, we have what at first glance look like a sort of kula, right? At first glance, they are like a more lenient thing than Bishul. They're more localized, right? We say that like flavor doesn't spread as much, therefore you only need to do Netilat Makom, or you only need to do Klipa. But then as soon as we bring in the concepts of like the, Isser B'Pa'apeh, suddenly, right, we have the same severity as with Mivushal. We have the same idea that like an entire thing can be infected, but we're not really comfortable like completely upending the paradigm. The thing that had initially been the reason for a kula in these cases is the idea that the thing remains more localized, that it's about like immediate contact, and that like things aren't actually all mixing together and evenly distributing. And so something like switching to the paradigm of 60 and just forgetting the klipa or the netilat makom also doesn't feel comfortable, because the reason for this kula now becomes a chumrah, right? That even in scenarios where we said now we need shishim, because actually we think it spreads enough that a klipa or netilat makom is not sufficient, we also still kind of feel like it hasn't spread as much from the place of contact as it would in the case of Bishul. So we end up with this paradigm where we end up being in some ways like more machmir than we would be in Bishul, because we keep the essence of that kula that becomes like an additional chumrah on top of the shishin.
Once it becomes an independent idea, it's hard to squash it, You're also invested in it. Now, okay, Landes, you read. Linyan halacha, you have that next place? Wake up, everybody. Linyan halacha. That's a good term. Should wake you up. Linyan halacha. After all this, right? Kaven deruba dahanach revuta. Savri, or if you want to say, well, he said most of the rabbis, or most of those who have the opinion, Savri, the melicha b'shishim. Melicha is really b'shishim. That's how you have to deal with it. The Gam HaRashba v'Aran Rabbeinu Tor Savurim Kain. Hachi Naktina. This is really a case in which the logic, everything's been argued out. There is no death blow to any svora. We have become, as think of Alexi said, I'll add the word to what you said, Alexi, because I like a lot, that we become invested in these concepts. But in terms of hachra, how we're going to decide, we'll go by the big guys. That's what's happening here. The Gam Bahagahos, Yoreh Deah, who's a very important early guy. Pasu B'Shem Mahari, the Israelin. Kibalti Tahachi Nohagim. Shishim. Le'asor b'malicha ad shishim. The gam levatel b'shishim. Low boy klipa. And once again, who wins? He was a doctor
Rambam.
and a philosopher. They say he wrote in Arabic. As a kid, I could not believe that. Now I learned better. We should bring that culture back. Umihu kavar kotavti shadata rashba shafal pisha hu. But is it batel? Yeah, batel b'shishim. Tzarchli tov mimakom shenapal shama iser today the tilat makom. But God came dat kama rivusa beuvda the Rabbeinu Baruch Shehevi Mordechai b'sof da 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 ba'afal pi Rabbeinu Baruch Chazer ba'al acher kach inach revusa lo. We've seen that lo re'inu shechazru b'hem. But what they're trying to say is yes, just let us have that little k'dei klipa, because they just the afal pi should be divrei harambam. Yesh ledaktek, the lo be'inim klipa, doesn't take much of a diktuk. I mean, he just says it. We don't know k'dei klipa. Mekom le'inyan maisa. There's halacha. Halacha should be, or logically is. There's lemaisa how he paskin. Lemaisa yesh lahoros. If you're calling you up, it's before Shabbos, and they got a good question on the phone. Yesh lahoros kedivrei harashba shakosa bahadia the kavarnis bar shakol ze dafka bechelev mamash afal pisha basar shenisla o nimlach. What's the next word? Imo hu kachush aval shuman gid. What's the next word? The count goes Shabo, Chromos, all those other pieces. Einam mefafim ubeklipa saki. Lahu. V'hu sha'abasar shenimlach imam lo haya shamein. Aval im haya shamein mefafeya ha'isur al yada. V'dino kechelav gomer lehit batel b'samach. Latzrichol adasa rashba kedei klipa. So when would you do a Kedei Klipa? When? That's my question. When is there a Kedei Klipa now?
If those other
Dioraisa.
parts, if
What?
if those other parts are shamin, then you need klipa.
Okay. And the Shuman Gid, the Havi Vadai Drabanan. Ubekrumos Besafgalon Ihavu Doraisa. If sure. Oh man, we want something more than if sure. If sure could be the Tilat Makom Nami Boy. Well, my Mandy's won for a while. And then we have Lamaisa. There seems to be this, and how does Maimonides win, as it were? He's winning on the side that's saying he says kulo mutter, and it's hard to accept it. There should be something, given the fact of the collision that took place, there should be something that is usher. This is my explanation. There should be something that's usher. They can't give up the concept. Kidei Klipa. Okay. Now, I'm not sure who was supposed to give shir next week. Was it you, Lexi?
It's not me. So it's either Rav Nachum or Rav Joel. We can consult with them.
Or it's me.
But
I want to finish up. I'm finishing up Buffet next week. If I receive their permission, you will get, I will make my case and see what they tell me. Okay. Thank you very much.
Shkoyach, thank you.
Yeah.
יישר כוח, לילה טוב.
Thank you.